This is my Montreal Audio Fest 2024 highlight, Best of the Show. Like I have said in my previous coverage, this was a great show with lots to see. If you had not had a chance to see my show coverage of the 8 new loudspeakers at the Montreal Audio Show, I highly suggest you check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. In this video, I'll be going over 9 rooms that I thought were simply interesting and awesome. And while I will be commenting on what stood out to me in each of these rooms, it is not going to be an in-depth discussion of sound. Please understand that videos like these are intended to be entertainment and to entice you to come to shows because it's truly loads of fun. Now with that out of the way, the first room that caught my attention was the one with the AudioNec loudspeakers. The first thing that possibly sticks out to you are these white poles, and they are in fact speaker drivers that AudioNec calls dual pole. It is a unique wideband driver that takes care of wide range from 400Hz to 10 kHz. It also has a super tweeter that takes care of the frequencies above 10 kHz and 8.5-inch scan speak woofer that takes care of the frequencies below 400Hz. This interesting loudspeaker was being paired and powered by Thoress audio gear, which are known to be great tube gear manufacturers with focus in making minimalistic, single-ended, zero feedback vacuum tube devices. I've heard this unusual looking speaker before and have good memories of the sound, but the sound with the Thoress gear sounded really good and holographic even at a show setting. I always thought AudioNec loudspeakers do have a really good sense of depth in the soundstage, but paired with something like the Thoress, it really brought out that depth in the soundstage, but also with great separation. Overall, I was really surprised by the bass and the holographic soundstage even at a show setting. Next room was Thomas showcasing the new Galion products and Java Audio, which we will talk about in a minute here. First, they were running the Galion TSA-20 amplifier with the Perlisten loudspeakers. This is a new amplifier with 20 watts of Class A power and is made in Canada, with a predicted MSRP of $3,750 US. On the side, it was showcasing the internals of the new Galion Navy tube preamplifier, and as expected of Thomas, it looked crazy good for the estimated price of $2,000 to $2,500 US at launch. I was not able to hear this preamp at the show, I wish I had, but I will definitely be stealing this from Thomas to review in the future. Now, quick attention to the Java Carbon integrated amplifier, based on a very interesting technology with LDR preamp stage and a GONFET amplification stage. I actually stole this unit from the show to review, so I will go more in depth on what the deal is with this unit and why it's so special, but overall the sound of the room was quite nice with great bass authority and engaging sound. Again, hard to judge anything at a show, but given that I am not a huge fan of Perlisten loudspeakers from previous experiences, personal taste, it was something to be said when this system gave me a new perspective on how great the Perlisten loudspeakers can sound when equipped with the right quality gear. Thomas also seems to be starting an instant noodle brand here, and hey, I'm all for that. Free instant noodles included with each purchase would be definitely cool. Borresen or Audio Group Denmark was also at the show showcasing their Borresen X6 loudspeakers. Since I just reviewed the X2 loudspeakers from the same lineup, I could really appreciate the extra scale and dynamics brought to the table by the bigger brother. And as I have alluded to multiple times in my review of the X2, Borresen loudspeakers come across as an analytical masterpiece. It is extremely engaging to listen to with quick and tactile presentation from bass to treble without being harsh, although some may find it slightly dry in the upper mid ranges. However, like I have mentioned in the X2 review, I want to emphasize that this is only with their own gear by Audio Group Denmark. And when paired with other gear, from my personal experience, it becomes more of a rather emotionally engaging, warmer loudspeaker. Yes, you heard me right. It becomes almost a totally different loudspeaker when paired with other gear. It is a very extremely versatile loudspeaker that I am personally saving up to purchase. It is also extremely cool that they had naked drivers on the side to show the incredible cool engineering that is partially responsible for the sound I was hearing with these loudspeakers. Kii loudspeakers are fully active loudspeakers, and I was pleasantly surprised to finally see them and hear them for the first time. Well, at least in a meaningful way. I wouldn't say they are totally up my alley in terms of the pleasant and musical sound I usually want in my listening room that's meant for pleasure, but if I was building a system for studios or total accuracy, these will be at the top of my list without a question. Incredible finesse and accuracy, and there's a lot of technology packed into these guys to go over in just a single video, but something I believe I heard and was able to appreciate was the benefit of the cardioid dispersion pattern of these loudspeakers. In simple terms, this loudspeaker's dispersion follows a specific dispersion pattern that looks like a heart shape. This allows for a more directional sound to the listener with less room interaction, allowing for a locked-in precise imagery of the instruments and vocals. This is something I believe I heard, while I'm not sure if that was the only thing contributing to the incredible imagery accuracy, but hey, nevertheless, it was very impressive. Totem was also at the show, and it was nice to see a well-decorated room. It was a really nice vibe. They have their torrent driver technology on display, and if you've watched my channel for a while, you know how much I love this driver technology that can be found in the Totem Tribe Towers and the Metal version 2 that I reviewed. Simply incredible loudspeakers, but something that was new to me was their showcase of their Totem Tribe 5 on-wall speakers with this torrent driver technology. In their demo, they played both multi-channel music as well as movies, and man, it really got me thinking of getting these for my home theater room. Not only are they sleek and sexy in my opinion, but they were sounding fabulous. Totem is one of those brands I love and appreciate very much for their overall tonal characteristic, and in my past reviews, I even went far as to say that other loudspeakers' tonality almost sound broken in comparison to how realistic and natural Totem speakers sound to me. What I didn't know was that this purity and natural tone could aid itself even in a home theater setting. Impressed would be an understatement here. Next room was Magico Loudspeakers with CH Precision gear, presented by a dealer in Canada. Audio by Mark Jones. Rooms set up by Mark are always appreciated and loved in Canadian audio shows, and I can say I was definitely taught a lesson in this room. As you may know, I am not a huge personal fan of the Magico sound, but I may be wrong there, as it was demonstrated by Mark very clearly how correct matching and setup can make these speakers even sing to my own liking, even at a show setting. Just incredible tonality, bass, and high frequency delivery that I could not possibly fault in any way, especially at a show setting. I've heard Magico speakers in $500,000 setups before, and this room quite frankly sounded better than a lot of those setups I've heard. In fact, this room sounded one of the best of the show for me, and if I didn't have to pick only one room as the best sound of the show, this would have been easily my pick, as the reason I awarded Artist Cloner's room as the best sound at the show in my previous video really came down to my personal taste in the overall tonality. I must say this is why experienced dealers are a must in this hobby, and if anything, Mark demonstrated his prowess as a very experienced dealer perfectly, and I'll go for as to say that the little time I spent in his room gave me enough confidence and trust in him for his advice and to entrust him with my system in the future. Next room was demonstrating the Monitor Audio's flagship Hyphn loudspeakers. Now, this room was pretty dark, but I tried my best to get some good footage. The speaker itself I felt was a tad big for the room, but I heard the speaker last year as well in a bigger room, and both times I have to say the technology and the painstaking innovation Monitor Audio took with this loudspeaker really transfers into the real world, and that was made obvious even at a show setting. The locked-in imagery and the incredible focus of the driver array, all while having one of the most extended and textured bass from the four force-canceling 8-inch woofers. It was easily one of the most impressive piece of engineering at the show, but not just that, the sound delivered, and while I can't say every ounce of the performance was showcased here, as it is still a show setting, this system was just incredible with sheer dynamics and scale that would have impressed anyone at the show, and I hope you had a chance to listen to it. And if anything, it really makes you think about winning a lottery. And talking about winning the lottery, next room was showcasing the Audio Vector R8 loudspeakers. Another loudspeaker that is in the high-end category that will cost you an arm and a leg, but perhaps a loudspeaker that makes it all worthwhile would perhaps be the Audio Vector R8 loudspeakers. There were several audio vector loudspeakers showcased throughout the show, but none of them were set up in a proper room, so this was probably the only room that you were able to really appreciate and have a deep listen to an audio vector speaker setup. It was in one of the larger rooms as well, so it was sounding spectacular, being driven with very competent Moon audio gear. The thing that stood out to me immediately in this room was the sheer amount of micro details that were just sweet sounding without any dryness or harshness whatsoever. That micro detail popping out at you was truly impressive, and it gave me goosebumps even at a show setting. And if you fall into the category of someone that's looking for detail, a detailed but not bright presentation, definitely have a look at Audio Vector speakers, as that's exactly what they do. Audio Vector is definitely on my radar to review this year, and this experience really solidified my decision to review it on my channel as soon as I can. Last but not the least was the Wolf von Langa loudspeakers being driven by Shindo gear. Shindo makes some of the finest high-end tube gear around, and I am a personal big fan. And without exception, this room sounded really good. As for the very interesting looking loudspeakers, it wasn't my first time seeing it, but it was certainly the first time I sat down to have a good listen and felt enticed to do so thanks to the great music choices. The speaker itself is very interesting, as it uses premium field coil mid-bass drivers with a passive cone and a dipole AMT tweeter. Definitely an interesting loudspeaker, and people will have mixed reactions on the overall aesthetic of this loudspeaker, but I personally like it and thought it looked great, especially if you want something very unique. In terms of sound, this loudspeaker made me think a lot about the vintage Altec Lansing designs for sure, with that room-filling sound, but with its more modern take on the loudspeaker's tonality and its detail and balance, so that is a more inline, modern reference level type of sound loudspeaker that seems to play well with majority of the music presented at the show. So that's it for my Montreal Audio Fest coverage of 2024. Like I said at the beginning of the video, these shows are super fun to attend to with your audio friends, and if you don't have any audio buddies yet, don't worry, you are bound to make some when you are at a show setting like this. Take Joseph here for example, who is a great photographer that inspired me to take more meaningful and composed photos this year. And yes, he will be the one responsible for my photo spamming across my social media as part of my show coverage this year. So you can blame him for that. Jokes aside, everyone can benefit from sharing and nerding out with your audio buddies once in a while. Again, a great thank you to all the show organizers that makes events like these enjoyable and possible in the first place. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next journey. Until next time.